This is Anna with the Lighting Asylum, and today I'm going to be going over how to edit out the dreaded under eye. Now, these tips are going to be pretty quick. The first thing we're going to do is create a new layer. It gives you a nice clean slate to be working with. It's this little square down here with a folded corner, kind of like a post-it note. So now that we have that new layer, I'm going to be showing you how to use your clone tool. Up here on the left-hand side, people call it a clone tool, a stamp tool, because it looks like a cute little stamp or a cute little stamper. What I'm going to be doing is making sure that my hardness is about 25%. This is, my own preference because I like to have a precise center, but with a little bit of a softer edge. Play around with that, kind of see where you like to have it. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure my opacity is about 40%. That helps me to control a little bit more of what I'm doing and blend it out towards the edges a little bit. You're going to see that here in just a second. So once you have your clone tool and your new layer, make sure it's set to current and below, because we want to be working on this layer and the layer below it and the layer below that if we happen to have it. So I'm going to select from the highlight on her cheek. Because it's nice and close to her under eye, it's going to have a little bit more of the same tonage. So what we're going to be doing is going over this darkened patch right here, just that fold of the under eye where the lights hit and kind of created a little bit more of a crease than we want to see. So now that I've selected my part, I'm going to just start going over just that darkened spot there, just brushing it back and forth, making sure it's nice and smooth. And the reason why I had the opacity drop down is so that I can go over this edge without it being a solid color or a solid texture. So let's go ahead and get that set. The other thing I'll do is I'll reselect to go over to this edge so I'm not pulling in from her cheek right here. It's all part in learning how to use that tool. Okay, so that looks pretty good. The last thing I'm going to do is just soften this highlight a little bit. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to go to our layer opacity, drop it all the way down, and slowly bring it back up until it looks nice and natural. About 38, 44, right around there. It looks good to me. Each image is going to be different depending on how deep those under eyes are. Now, the reason that I've dropped this down is because we want to keep the lines and the texture that's there. We don't want to completely erase it. We want it to look natural. So let's take that layer on and off. Pretty quick and easy, right? All right, now the next thing I'm going to show you is how to do a little bit of airbrushing. So once again, let's create a new layer. Let's grab our brush tool. Pretty easy, it looks like a nice little brush. You have other options, but we're just going to use a brush tool today. For this, you want your opacity to be a little bit lower, and you're going to Alt and use your dropper to find the color that you want to use. So I'm going to go with something a little bit lighter to start off with and just start brushing that on. Get a nice smooth look here. If you're going to start expanding out, you need to reselect so that it keeps looking natural. You want to keep your highlights having highlights and your lowlights having that low light. Okay, this just helps give a little bit more shape. And this is something that you can use to contour the face and everything like that. Okay, so we're going to hit these low lights a little bit, help create that same structure of the face. Pull in the highlights. Now this is going to be a lot lighter than what we want, but again, we're going to be dropping down this layer to help it look a little bit more natural. Okay, so now that's done. If you really want to, you can go all the way with it, but I know I'm going to be dropping down this layer, so I'm just going to stop right here. We're going to be adding noise to the image, so go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. The reason I'm doing this is because with the brush, there's no texture, so I want texture on here, and the noise will give that appearance. So I have mine set at about 1.5%. It's right where I want it for this image. Some will have more, some will have less. I have it on Gaussian and monochromatic so that I don't get all those little color shifts in there. Hit OK. And again, we're going to take the opacity, drop it all the way down, slowly bring it back up until it looks nice and natural. And there we go, about 46%. So let's zoom out a little bit and take a look at that. So here is your airbrush or your brush, and here is your clone tool. All right, well, thank you for being with me today,